just to sort of use the old one.
Oh yeah,
To
sorry about it. I
feature the
forgot. So
yes.
we are good.
Now okay, yes.
Okay. Uh,
All right.
yeah, this is great.
Yes.
So are you okay if I record this,
Yes, I think so. I think yeah.
or if we talk about confidential stuff or anything? Like, supposedly we don't
Yeah,
want to talk too much confidential stuff because we like to work in the open. But if we do, I don't have to publish this. I can keep it. But I definitely want to keep it for my private records so I can refer back to it
okay. Oh,
at the very
okay.
least.
Yes.
Because we might
What
be
I'm
talking about some crazy stuff right here. I'm not sure if we can.
okay. Yes.
Okay.
So no, I agree with you. Maybe what we can do is we can keep whatever that's confidential. Maybe when you post, you can post what is not really
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, confidential. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the main thing I want to,
Yes,
thinking
man.
about the situation here regarding your interest, like I kind of thought back about this, and I want to make sure that your needs are being met. Like I do hear you talk a lot about, producing heavy machines and things like that. Then we have the 3D printers to offer, but I really want to maybe hear a little bit more from you, kind of like what are your latest thoughts and where you stand on what I wrote in my email, as well as I think for the 3D printer, we're okay where we are on that, so I'm not particularly concerned about it. My main goal is to find out more, kind of like what your ideal outcome would be and what are your latest thoughts here. Yeah, yeah,
On ease. No, thanks a lot, Marcin. I think how you've structured your email was more of or less of what I was thinking, in fact, also lately, that maybe to sort of localize it to the needs of maybe the individual people like myself
yeah,
as a start, like you say, would maybe be much more better yield, better outcomes. Reason being, because I think the needs differ for the machines, universally, as per maybe I know 3D printing is obviously big, and but then with a little bit of history locally here in South Africa, the heavy equipment machinery as well. It's also something that's also sort of there are available markets, and then sort of something that's also in need. So that was the initial need that I really had, because I was seeing both the opportunities commercially and obviously sort of personally, and so it will really be something that's worth a while for me, in all honesty. And then obviously 3D printing, I've also got into the swing of it because of what we've been doing lately, for the past few
hmm
weeks. So I've also sort of been trying to sort of catch up with obviously the ins and outs of 3D printing markets and all those kind of things. So it's also as to a certain level got to me to sort of spark that interest, that I'll also be wanting to sort of find out and do more around the 3D printing. So I think exactly how you've structured it really does answer the sort of the outcome that I would be at, sort of or what something that I would like to emerge with maybe let's say after the immersion training and all that, part 3D printing, part machinery making and all, or at least support on those as well. Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So right now it sounds like you probably would have like 20 hours a week to commit. So probably like more like a 2 year program compared to what we were
Yeah.
like when we were talking about. Because last time we were saying, it sounds like that. Is that right?
That's correct. Because what is happening at the moment, it's just got to the time of the year where we're really catching up at work, because of the time that we really lost in terms of the during the COVID-19. So what happened? We had about the 2 months lockdown in terms of the COVID situation.
Hmm.
So there's a bit of backlog that I really had to catch up. So that's consuming a bit of my time. That's why lately I've been so busy, because we're now at a lower level, risk level at least. So we are allowed to do some work and all those things. So I've been really most of my time have been dedicated to sort of catching up at work and all that. But then in reality, I think the situation is not really permanent, that I'm always going to be busy, probably for the duration of the year, or anything like that. The way I see it, I think how we planned it initially would be best to start with the 2 years, and then look at it maybe after, I would say about 4 or 5 months, because it might be the busiest time that I go through, just to try and catch up, depending how the situation unveils. But then, yeah, so I think the 2 years for now should be fine. We can leave it open ended with the 2 years immersion training. But of course, I I'm also trying to sort of move, because it's a transition as well. I'm also trying to move a lot of things as well from my shoulders, so that I can also try and make a lot of time for at least the 20 hours, or even improve on the hours that I have available during the week. So the situation should really improve within a few months from now.
So that means training some of your workers?
That's correct. Yes, yes. So I do have guys who are in place already, but then obviously some things needed me, because there are bigger responsibilities on the our company side. But then, yeah, so obviously I'm trying to sort of upskill some of the guys, and then just have them assume more responsibility than I previously did. But then, because it's not easy as we're dealing with clients, because what I want to do is the OSE immersion training, or the whole OSE chapter. I want to be the front person. I don't really want to sort of dedicate it to anybody else. I prefer if it's myself, and then I'll rather maybe try and split my responsibility between my day-to-day versus plus the OSE, so that I can give it a full sort of commitment
Yeah.
from the beginning. Yes.
Yeah, that sounds good. Are all your
Mm.
guys, do they have college degrees, or so they're doing engineering work, or
Yes,
are they
yes. So
more
we've got.
like mechanical, or more like installers, or
So what I have is, we compose a team from engineers down to sort of artisanal level. So artisanal guys will be more like your welding guys, your or boiler makers, as they call them, and then also your mechanical fitters, and electricians, and then obviously at a higher level it will be engineers. Like for now, we've got a structural engineer and a mechanical engineer on our side, and an electrical engineer as well.
and are you the are you one of the two engineers, or three? So you have three engineers on the team?
Senior lead engineers, yes, full time. Because how we work, because our work is, so it's more like an EPCM sort of model that we use, our business model. So we consult, we do engineering designs, and then
Sorry, can you
we.
repeat that? What's the CPM? What?
Okay, sorry, Marcin. I was saying, how we work. We've got a permanent team that we've got. So normally it will be composed of the lead engineers in all disciplines, because it's multidisciplinary work that we do. So myself being a process engineer or metallurgical engineer, I assume the responsibility of lead process, and at times I also work as a project manager. And then my partner also does the same. She's also a chemical engineer, which is more or less overlaps with the metallurgical side. And then we've got a lead in structural engineering, we've got a lead in electrical engineering, and we've got a lead engineer in mechanical. So that is the permanent team that we have. But then, depending on the project needs, we do load people, junior engineers, when the need comes, when there's more work coming from that line. So sometimes we do load a lot of engineers, but they are not permanently there. But these guys that I've sort of mentioned initially are the guys that are almost always there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, is this work? Is this the fossil fuel industry, or is it mining industry? Both.
This is mining. This is mining. No, we're not more into the oil and gas or fossil fuel. We're more into mining.
Okay.
Just geographically, because of where we are based. Yes.
Is it so? Basically, what do you? So you designed actual operations of mines, like. Tell me an
Yes.
example project.
Okay.
What's your last project?
Process plants, yes, like the one that I explained to you that I did for
Okay.
the village. I'll actually show you the pictures here. So it was a small plant that, so what we do is we do, normally, because some of the clients have obviously got existing facilities. So what we normally do, we don't start from greenfields. We don't do really a lot of greenfields. Whereby greenfields, it's when you do a project from scratch, build from nothing to a full operation. So what we do is we go into operations that really exist, and then we either assist in terms of optimization or sort of looking at expansion projects with them and all those kind of things. So then we do feasibility studies, maybe from the level of preface to all the way to execution and commissioning, and sort of integrating that system into the existing. But outside, that's why I said the golden flag of mine was the one that I did with the community, whereby I think I'll share the pictures, whereby I did it's a fairly small chrome treatment plant, whereby we designed it just out of nothing, and really put up a few spiral systems, and then just to wash off the chrome, and then really yield the product that will be sort of a concentrate feed into the next process stage. So pretty much what I do myself is that my capability personally is that I've got at least the know-how from the beginning of the process. So I've been involved in greenfield projects, and then I've also been involved in sort of like the ones that I'm currently involved in, brownfields projects, which is you coming in and
Have
sort
you
of
wor-
assisting.
have you worked with
Yes.
engines to drive some of these? Say the spiral, is that driven by an engine or an electric motor?
It's electric motors. We mainly work with electric motors, yes. So we haven't really gone to like we don't do a lot of engines and sort of diesel stuff. So it's mainly electrical. Because I guess what happens is that it's always cheaper to run plants on electricity this side, because of the coal situation. It's much cheaper to have it on electrical. So I guess engines, if you're talking in terms of diesel, becomes more expensive than having it on electrical. So we always almost use electrical motors.
Do you think that any other training from OSE would be relevant to your current clients, or are you looking more at the community level, startup level?
Yes. Well, of 3D printing, I mean, that's obviously something that spans across a lot of,
But
from
in
the
gen,
community to.
whoops. Yeah, not necessarily.
Okay, hello, Marcin. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
hello.
got cut off. Yes. I
Not
don't know if you
necessarily
can hear
3D
me.
printing, but in general, like
Yeah.
say in the longer term, do you
Yes.
envision that you would work on transitioning some of these companies? Are these like pretty big companies or small, medium?
You mean the ones that I currently work with?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a big company, but then obviously, so I'm a bit of both on my side. I'm trying to do something that obviously will be beneficial to the industry as a whole, because I think that is the biggest contributor. But at the same time, I'm also trying to have the sort of the civilization idea, just like how you've sort of explained it. So that I can also obviously sort of be able to self-sustain, because the reality is that sometimes it's a challenging industry, whereby if one doesn't really upskill himself to that level where you have got the necessary tools of organization, sometimes it dries up, and then you find yourself with a situation whereby there's not much in terms of consulting. But then I'm trying to sort of have that alternative, should that really not be a because as it is not really more sustainable. So I find it much more a bit of both on my side. I don't know if that makes sense. So just trying to really contribute to the engineering field, and then if it can help the industry, being it the current clients that I have, or somebody else, that would be something that really would be an ideal situation for me. And then also at the same time, I want to also at a personal level, and obviously at the community level, be able to also assist in terms of civilization, and sort of creating such opportunities or such tools with and for the surrounding communities.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, my friend.
Okay.
So yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a real contributor. I really believe in the OSC model. I mean, with the philosophy, it's great. That's why I it sparked my interest. So no doubt that it would be something that significantly contribute either way through what I'm doing now, or maybe something else. Because I see even the greater potential beyond what I'm doing through the model.
Yeah. I mean, can you envision like, I don't know, like what would you see that you have that you have succeeded in,
mm,
like in the
mm,
long term, in
mm,
a short, like I mean, in the long term, like what would your
mm,
ideal situation
mm.
be? Have you thought about what you'd like to see? Like any specifics, or
Yes,
tell me more.
yes, yes, Marcin. Obviously, I'm a metallurgist. I mean, so the biggest thing that I always envisaged was owning my own facility, as in a processing plant. I mean, that has been one of my biggest starship. Like I said, one of my biggest, besides the machineries and all that, I also saw the furnace, and then I mean, it's something that really sparked my interest. That one day, if I could have, even if it's just a small but a decent production facility, such as a smelting facility, because like I said, there's a little bit of abundance in the mineral side. So it's always been something that I envisage myself doing, personally as an achievement, and obviously being able to sort of create those opportunities for other people. And so I mean, it ties into the OSC in a sense that most of the technology is there, it's been identified, and then obviously for one to really develop it further or contribute or be part of it would really make sense in a sort of long term in a long term sort of basis. Hence why I say, personally, that's what I would like to sort of, or something that I've always had with myself to say, I really want to sort of have this facility whereby I can be sort of be having my own production at my own sort of space and time.
So actually producing the final metals,
Final battles, yes, yes. So
and what would
there's
those,
been
what would be the scope of those?
Obviously, I work a lot with steel. I mean, it's always been the number one priority in terms of the commodities that I've identified, because I mean, we're not really much of a more petrol or gas or oil producing country, but we are more of a mineral sort of based and mining country. So one was looking at steel. I mean, the production of steel is always a winner, because it's a commodity that goes a long way. So I've always had interest in steel. I've also previously, I think, tried to be involved in the recycling of the metals and all those kind of things. But obviously, yeah, the technology becomes enabler for such things to happen. So still definitely something that I could be looking at as a final product.
Do you have any people? Do you know any people who know about power electronics?
Power and electronics, as in
Power
like
electronics, like
yes, like
induction furnace, inverters.
yes. I've
Maybe
worked with
that's,
technology, furnace technology myself. Yes, so I even myself I've been involved in terms of furnaces. Maybe not on the more on the electrical side, but more on the metallurgical science
yeah.
side, whereby dealing with the chemistry of the furnace, the building, in terms of the structural integrity and all that. I've done that previously, so I used to deal a lot with that. And then obviously I worked alongside guys that were maybe sort of the guys in the industry were looking at the electrical side of things,
Yeah.
and from that kind of control. Yes,
Have you ever considered, actually, I've been actually looking recently at
yes, Marcin.
electrolyzers for hydrogen energy. Have
Oh
you ever looked
yes,
into that at all,
yes.
or not at all?
In passing, not really into detail,
Okay.
because I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things emerging. So one to keep up, you really have to be,
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you
yes.
have
So at times, sorry, Marshall,
do you have
yes.
nickel and zinc over there? Nickel and zinc, or no?
Zinc not so popular anymore, because I think the because of the current processes that are in place, I think a lot of zinc facilities that used to be there are decommissioned, for simple reason that I think the operational cost was just a little bit higher. I guess because it consumes a lot of. I think they were using reverberatory furnaces and those open furnaces, and then whereby they consumed a lot of electricity. So I know a few places that were really shut down that used to sort of produce zinc, and then. did you other? I think the other metal that you spoke about was nickel,
Nickel.
if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So nickel, it's there in production, but it's normally the big guys because what happens, how the mineralogy is structured in South Africa is that the very ore that is used for producing platinum is the one that bears nickel and copper. So it sort of comes in the same ore body. So what happens is that the process of remove or recovering or extracting nickel sort of comes, in fact it comes more like a byproduct from the platinum producers. So it's normally the big guys who've got the furnace technology, because there you'll probably need your furnace technology for your zinc and a bit of hydrometallurgy to come into play, whereby you'll then extract the nickel with the cobalt alongside the copper as byproducts from the platinum, just before it goes to the final processing for the platinum metals.
Are you
Yeah, so
interested in a
it's
PM, like for the community development, like in your scope besides steel? Are you interested in PMG too, or
isn't platinum? Yes. Nope. Platinum it's very interesting. I'm interested. Yeah, like I said, anytime, because that's what we have anyway in Rustenburg. I mean, one will
but
be
you
really
said
fooling
that
himself without.
but you said that
Yes,
do
Marcin.
only the big
Yes.
companies have access to the PMGs, or you can have there's places you can get access to on a community level where you can
Yes.
get
Let me
access.
let me structure it this way. So there's two ways how you can get as a small scale. I guess we're talking small scale. So the easiest and the most possible way that will be quicker without really getting involved in terms of mining and all that will be to implement sort of like a small scale furnace facility, because there isn't none of those. Like a lot of furnace and smelting application is done by big guys, or either the concentrate, like we discussed the last time, is shipped overseas somewhere where somebody will put it into a furnace. But not that it's not feasible for small scale. I think it's because the technology that really enables such is not really a popular something that somebody can do in the back of their farm
What is the
or their
technology
land.
involved?
It's because platinum from the what happens, there are three main steps in platinum production, or the other metal. So the first main one will be to concentrate, whereby you use physical method to do the separation of the ore from underground. So you put it through crushers, you ore dress the ore from the underground, break it to whatever, you expose the mineral basically that's locked into that rock, and then you do either flotation or you do spiral wash, or tables, depending on the or which you get. But the most popular route being the flotation route, whereby you then flow through chemicals, and then that particular front end work is called concentration, whereby you trying to sort of concentrate as much as possible of your platinum from the, and then leave the stuff that's barren behind
How does it
before,
separate
so as you
in
advance into your process.
how does it separate in flotation?
Sorry, Martin?
Because how do you separate it through flotation?
Yes.
Because it's heavier than
Yes.
water.
No, so what they do, they manipulate. So they use these things called, they more like suffocants. So they act on your surface
Okay.
of your yes. And then what happens is that, through, because now what platinum will tend to do, the ore that we've got, it's more in a sulfide host body. So it will tend to be, so they manipulate it will tend to be more aerophobic, aerophilic rather, have the affinity for air. Then it will float through, then and on top of through then you'll have a frother which will really carry it as it rises above the rest. Then you suppress the gang or the minerals that you don't want through depressors, other chemicals which really make them the silicates and all those kind of other oxides, whereby you'll apply the depressants to make them more hydrophilic as opposed to the airphilic. Then they will sink. So you really use chemicals to manipulate the surfaces and the affination of the sulfides
Ah.
and the oxides. Yes, and rather what will happen, the other stuff will
Mm.
sort of sink, and then you can take it to the waste or retreat
Oh
it
wow.
later,
Are
depending. Yes,
those
and then
so? Are the
yes.
surfactants are those commonly available? What kind of materials are those? Or are they expensive? Or
As far as I know, I think there are also it's also sort of a market that's dominated by a few companies, whereby really the process is not difficult, but then I think the because it's related is the hydrocarbons. I think it's more of a product that comes from the
Oil
sort
industry?
of the chemical industry. The two main products that are used in flotation are it's called the frother and one is called the xanthate. Xanthate being the main one because xanthate is produced from sulfides, as far as I understand. And then there's a few guys that does xanthate. I think then obviously I don't know if commercially it's viable if you because I think it's one of those businesses that are driven by volume. So for one to be able to run a facility like that to produce such products, you'll need to also justify it with the volume that you sell into the market. So it's pretty much dominated by the same sort of people, and then yeah, but those are the products that are commonly used in the
Okay,
flotation
so one is
system.
xanthate. How do you spell that?
Yes, Xanthate, Te. So it's X.
Xanthate.
Yes, yes. That's the
Sodium
main.
sulfate. Oh, wow.
Yes, and then the frother. So the frother will be just basically the one that carries off, just like the name says. It's more like soap. It just carries off the whatever that is already risen to the surface. So
Frother.
those two are the ones that are
And what's the
normally applied.
frother? What's the frother made from?
I
Frother.
don't really know the full composition, yes, but I think if one looks up, so I just know it more as a product. So,
Is this stuff highly
but I think it's oil based.
is
Yes.
it highly proprietary or is this common materials?
I would think it's proprietary because there's been a few guys who've been trying to sort of compete for the same products, but then they're not really winning. So there's a lot of secrecy that goes into it. So it is as per normal, highly
Mm-hmm. So
confidential by those guys that does it.
if we
But then I
don't,
think if one really wants to find out, it will be yes.
okay. Um, do you have the resources? So you're talking about for steel. So what resources are you talking about? You have plenty of iron ore there.
Yes, Uh, yeah, like I'm saying, there's two ways. One would be to really look at it from the mining sort of side, whereby you can. I'm sure there is some mineral, but then there's a few, like we discussed the last time. There's it comes with its own challenges. But then the easiest way will be to really take it a step further from what everybody is doing because the small scalers what they do fortunately they don't lead up to the final product. So one would be it's easier just to buy the concentrate rather than try and mine it yourself and do the upfront work yourself. So it's better to just buy the concentrate from maybe the guys.
Sorry about that.
No,
Um,
it's fine, Marcin. Yes,
okay.
yes. I was yes. Now
Okay.
that's it's back. Yes, yes.
So, so the concentrate. Where do the guys that the big guys do they buy concentrate from the same guys that you would buy concentrate from, or that's different? They
No,
have
it's
their.
different. So the small guys, their normal market is the export market, or
Okay.
rather take it
Okay.
outside to China and the US or various countries who would then have interest in taking the concentrate further into products. Yes. So in fact, I think bulk of it is shipped that way as a concentrate. Most of
And
the
concentrate of what?
either chrome, because now obviously in steel making the main process that I know is that you get the same chromite or chrome that has been treated through the spiral washes, and then that is put into a smelter to produce your ferrochromites, which now become your direct feed that combine with your, depending what type of steel you're trying to make, either you can put your other nickels or manganese or other ferroalloys combined with the ferrochrome to make your stainless steel into the iron ore.
Wait. So
So
chromate.
so that's the, but that will be the,
How do you go from chromate to ferrochrome?
you smelt and then you control your iron to chrome ratio. So you smelt
You
away
smelt
your
with
through a
iron.
carbon, I think it's a carbon reduction system.
So you got
Yes,
chromate
you
plus
you
what?
you combine with iron, but then obviously with an,
But the iron comes from where?
you've got chrome, which is the Cr oxide. In the oxide, your iron, you can either add your pig iron. I think normally they add your pig iron or scrap metals to make up the, depending on the, so sometimes you get the ore that has got a bit of iron and then you can just drive off the other impurities through slag chemistry and all that. But then if in the deficiency of iron, you can add either your pig what they call pig irons or your scrap, really, and then you can use that to facilitate the iron in the chromite furnace or ferrochrome production. Yes. So, but it's in the end, it's actually a combination of your chromite, which is your chrome oxide, plus your a bit of iron that you either add or depending on the chemist. Like if you get to Zim side, I know their chrome is also rich in iron, so I don't think they add a little bit of the scrap iron into their furnaces. So depending
Wow.
on the ore bodies and on and all type of
And
ores that you get,
so I
yes.
think the. Do you think the potential is to do the first small scale smelting operation like that in the world?
That would be the best, Marcin, because I tell you the potential there is to, it's also, so when you look at South Africa, normally we normally are the window of Africa, not in any other way in terms of technology and advancement. And then what would happen is normally because of the abundance in the continent itself, Africa, they normally sort of take the technology as is, so models and all those kind of things that we use in South Africa, be it small scale or big scale, and to implement. So Africa is actually the market that you could potentially be looking for if that is implemented successfully.
South
Because
Africa. South Africa is the window to Africa.
more likely, yes, because a lot of stuff is shipped and introduced into SA most of the time, and then obviously there's a lot of R&D, and then we've got also a lot of advancement in terms of metallurgical and process engineering. I
Did
mean,
you?
there's a facility also called they call it the Mintech. It's just the mineral. Hello, my son.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
it's back now. Yes, I don't know. Yes. Sorry, I didn't get the last question. Yes.
Yeah, I see.
But
Mintech. Yeah. Um.
yes, yes.
So
So
do
those
you,
guys have got, it's a big institution, similar to, so they've done a lot of R&D over the years in terms of metallurgical systems and whatnot. But what they have not really focused on is give a chance to small scale. So they've been looking at things at a massive scale or a bigger scale, whereby whatever technology that they've got, they've implemented rather at a bigger scale, or they try and sell it to the bigger corporates and all that. So obviously, a small scale is a requirement, definitely, because there is a lot of potential in terms of setting up a small facility, and not just for locally here, but because once the model works, and then it's easy to sort of replicate across the continent, and yeah. So
Do you have any other friends that are talking like you are in terms of, is that so you have a mindset that you think you can change history there? Do you
mm,
is that
mm,
do you know of any other people that have that mindset, or are you a leader in that?
no, yeah. I mean, okay, so what I do is there are people that are like-minded, particularly if maybe it happens that you meet the guys that I work with. They're very positive people, thinkers as well, who also have got visions, short-term, long-term, and trying to look at things that can change really civilization, like as you've structured it properly, and ways of trying to do things at the localized level, and but impactful things. So there are people like that. I mean, I've got guys like that in my team. Yes,
Hmm.
Marcin.
But
Yes.
you'd say that's, I mean, that's really high class. I mean, that's not
Yeah.
common, not common, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. No, 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 of course. Yes. Because I mean, yeah, everybody's worried about, the small stuff, but yeah. So nobody's doing anything
that's
impactful. So
at least
yes.
that's really good, because in America, I don't think there's anyone else like but me and maybe I don't know who else that talk about small scale manufacturing at that
Yeah.
level. Um,
Yes.
but
Yes.
that's good at least that you have that at least, because you've
Mm,
got the minerals.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Yes, Marcin.
wow, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I
Yes.
mean this is this could make history. This is really good.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely yes. That's why I think OSC, I think it really answer a lot of things. I think maybe it could be that maybe people are also not aware. But I know you are in most platforms. But then I think sometimes it also takes a bit of time to get to people, because
Oh yeah,
people are more yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
But then definitely yes,
It takes time. Like we have some got some ambitious projects coming for next year, like around the house, the Open
yes,
Building Institute, and a
yes,
seed home, and things like that.
yes,
It'll take
yes,
time, but
yes.
we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yes,
So
yes. No, I fully agree.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Martin. Yes,
Any change is going to take time, but this is good. It's awesome. It's better and better every day.
yes,
It's good. Um,
yes, yes.
so let's see. So are you then okay with so? What are you most interested, like when we start on this? Do you want to start building the 3D printers, or do you want to go like straight to, like, as soon as you can, to the torch table and maybe start making machines? Or like how would you, because initially in the program I said, okay, here you start with the printers, learn to build all of
Yes,
those and so forth.
yes,
What would your ideal I mean, tell me what you want, tell me what you need.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay. Obviously, I want it all, but in reality, is that I'm trying to be to be as rapid as I want to adopt your model. I see you are using a very agile system. Very rapid. You want to get things done, and I think that's my approach as well. So for me, it's immaterial if I start with a 3D printer, a touch table. Either start for me is fine, as long as what I can try and do is that I want to get it, sort of up and running, or within on par, within as rapid as possible as well. So I think that is the ultimate goal, so that in the end we can achieve a lot with the time that will you'll be probably mentoring me, and then going through the immersion program and all that. So it's so the 3D printers, I think, because we've started a lot of work there. I don't know how much or what's between that and the touch tables and all that. But I would say maybe we can split it, that we start with this one and the 3D printers, and then we can move on to maybe the touch tables, and then, or maybe we can see if time allows, we can move them parallel. So it's really material for me, because it's just a matter of one making time and really being much more sort of radical and rapid about it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I see.
Yes,
um,
Martian. So
so does
yes,
it is it okay for you that basically we keep the curriculum, like instead of defining, oh, we go like, because I started by saying, okay, here's 40 weeks of content,
yes.
so keep it flexible, like basically what keep it flexible, and as soon as you have results we move on to the next thing, and always kind of agile, keep saying, okay, now we need to do this and so forth.
Yes, yes. No, that I think flexibility would be the best. of course, I'll also try and catch up. But I mean, we're talking, really catching up with a lot of work. I know you've done a lot of work, so but I think it will be best if it really means that if I tick a box, we move on to the next, and then we become a little bit flexible, because I think maybe systematically following a long process might sometimes be a bit more not as agile as maybe as a, but I don't know, also depending on, I also don't want to jump the cart or the horse. I want to maybe also follow your lead as well at
Hmm.
certain things, maybe how
Yeah,
you
yeah,
also want to shape me to certain direction. Yes, yes.
yeah. Um, what do you think about like? Because
Mm,
initially I was thinking there's 20 hours
yes.
per week, so we meet for an hour. Like for example, we can start talking about okay, here's the printer, here's the instructions,
Mm,
build it.
mm,
And it might
mm,
take you
mm,
20 hours or
mm, mm.
longer. But do you think so?
Yes.
You think you can pretty much guarantee like 20 hours a week, or is that gonna be tough initially?
Initially, it is so 20 hours we're talking. Yeah. So for now, I would say from so that I think maybe for this month is a little bit tougher. Like I was saying, I'm catching up a bit with what
Hmm.
I've sort of the time lost, and then obviously from there onwards, I think really it's possible. Marcin. I
Okay,
don't think
okay.
it's yeah. I
So
can.
maybe
I think I can do it. Yeah.
so should we do something like we meet for that hour, like every week or every 2 weeks or
Yeah. I think a week suffices, because a 2 week process might be longer. I think I don't want to also stretch it too much. I'd rather be more involved and much more committed upfront, so that it becomes sort of culture. So I think a weekly meeting it's much more better for me.
okay, okay,
Yes,
and then because it really depends. Like for example, if it's yeah, yeah,
yes,
okay, let's do that. So we can do the weekly meeting, and then you go as
yes,
fast as you can. And if you get through the build, the quicker you get
yes,
through it, the quicker we move on to the torch table. And
yes,
and the other guys on your team, do
yes.
they have time to help you or not really either?
You with regards to the OSC, or is it with
Well, like
regards
for
to what I
example,
do outside? Yes.
well with OSC. So for example, like when we get you going to
Yes.
build the 3D printer, can they help
Yes.
out so you can
Yes, that's
build
what
it
I
faster?
wanted more hands. I get two or three guys and then we do it.
Yeah.
Yes, because
Okay.
it's just that, I mean, yeah, that's more a practical way of doing it, because the more the people, the quicker they obviously
Okay.
you can get things done. Yes, that was the
Okay.
plan that I initially had, but then I was not really even trying to target sort of the engineers. Even, I mean, if I get guys that I can really do, because I also want to take up the skills, because sometimes the degree leaves you useless, and then you don't know how to weld, you don't know how to do anything. So I also want to be doing things myself, and that's the very reason why I
Yeah,
also
yeah,
want
yeah.
to be leading. Yes, yes.
You definitely
So
want
that
to do that because your
yes,
possibilities,
yes,
like you really
yes,
understand it,
yes,
and then you can talk about being having the good authority to know exactly what's possible and what's not, and how much it should
yeah,
cost and all of that. So you're a much better
correct.
leader,
Yes,
and
yes,
you can then assess for yourself without relying on others. Like someone says it's
yes,
impossible. No, it's not.
yes.
Here's how I did it. You know
Yep, yep.
that we need that. Like I have that. Like so for me,
Yes,
I
I've
can do
seen
things that like people
yes,
will tell me as you can't do this, you can't do that. It's like yeah, you can.
yes,
That kind of
yes,
stuff.
yes,
So we need
yes,
that the same thing for you. You need to have that same kind of a
yes,
skill as you build
yes. That's
forward.
what I'm also trying to 100%.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
Marcin.
yeah. That's good.
Yes,
Okay, so let's start. So the way it would work is you do want to do the
yes,
printer first because the printer you will then use it to print
yes.
the parts for the torch table.
To reproduce. Yes,
Well, not
yes,
only more printers but parts for the torch table. So
yes, yes.
the larger scale universal axis, you can print that with the 3D
Okay.
printer, and then we can move on to other machines. Like
Oh,
if you want to do
yes,
heavy duty
yes,
CNC machines, you can do it with that.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
so
yes.
let's talk about the printer. So, but before we go there, so let's talk about. So let's maybe just
Mm,
start.
mm, mm.
So let's talk about
Yes,
things
Marcin.
like.
Mm, mm.
It sounds like you're comfortable with the idea that I am here at your disposal to teach you whatever you need, and we keep that
Yes,
flexible. and it's in
Yes.
the form of a mentorship that I'm mentoring
Yes.
you to succeed. And
Correct. Yes.
we will leave the chapter part. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
details to that, which I was kind of like,
Mm,
well, how do we
mm,
figure out all the details? The
mm,
answer is,
mm,
I don't think we have to do that right now.
No, I 100% agree. I think it will be best to go through the immersion and
Yeah.
then let the results and the outcome dictate what we then take up next. I
Yes,
agree.
yes, yes. And therefore we can leave that discussion for later, like in a year or two, when we know
Yes.
what skills you have and how far we got, then we can say, okay, here's what we want to do next. I want the
Yes.
chapter, I want the collaboration to happen,
Yes.
but maybe it'll
Yes.
be we'll have to see how that exactly fits your side and my side and
Mm,
OSE side.
mm,
So
mm.
we can
No,
play
I
both.
really agree. Yes, I really
Okay.
agree, Marcin.
Okay.
I think it's a brilliant model. Yeah. All right.
Okay. Okay. So that's great because I was kind of like
Yes.
concerned
Yes.
about it. Okay. And
No,
then
that's fine. Yes.
okay. So let's talk about what we want to do is drop a basic agreement, do the payment. So can you pay
I think
up
so.
front or
Yeah. Well,
how
yeah,
would you like
that's
to
what
do
we
that?
can discuss. I don't know how you'd want it. You do you want it? What is the preferred method of doing it?
So what I was thinking
Yes,
about that it would be a wire
yes,
for the full
yes.
amount, and then
Okay.
in
Yes,
3 months or 4 months we say, okay,
yes,
are you in? Is this working? If not,
yes.
then we'll give you like a refund. If not, we go forward.
Okay,
Refund as in like
okay.
50% or something. Like I was thinking, like
Yeah.
I want you to commit to be very comfortable saying, I'm gonna pay for this
Mm,
right now because I
mm,
believe it.
mm, yes.
But
No,
also,
definitely.
I also
Sorry,
wanted,
Marcin.
yeah, I also wanted to have an exit, as in like if you don't think, or maybe it's just this is not it, this is not working out. I mean, I hope not. I hope this is all good, and
No, so yes,
and all of
yes,
that. But we still leave
yes,
ourselves like reevaluate in about 4 months and say, okay,
yes.
am I happy? And if not, we just go forward, and that's it.
Okay, all right.
Um,
No, it makes sense. Yes,
Otherwise,
and
I
then
would say we do like a 50% refund after 4 months if it doesn't work out.
yeah, either way, yes. Or because what I was thinking is, I just want to talk about the cost because I did the material list and then the pricing update on the material list. I don't know if you, so I managed to get it to about $800 in terms of the parts, but that was through some, yeah, optimization that I did. So I posted it back on the log. I don't know if you managed to see that because I know. So in terms of the cost breakdown that we initially had, I think we spoke about. I think there was the 10K in the US dollars, and that we spoke about for the tuition, and then I think there was the parts and all that. So
The
that's what I
parts
wanted to.
you would keep
Yes.
that. You would do that
Okay.
because the large costs of shipping.
Yes.
Like I already
Yes.
found out it was like I don't know, it was like $500 or something to ship the
Yes.
parts for the printer only. Like it was 5 or 800.
Okay.
It's crazy. Like it basically doubles the cost if we ship. So you would have to
Okay.
get everything yourself, meaning
Yes.
that
Yes.
you would pay just the tuition part. That's it.
Yes.
And then you
Okay.
would
Okay.
cover the material costs on your side.
Okay, all right. And then now that brings me to another point because obviously I see some of the items. That is great how you've put it. I saw, but some of the items have got lead times. For example, I don't know which part I was looking at because some of them I find it's actually cheaper to get it from AliExpress, for example,
Yeah,
and then they do ship.
yeah.
So I've opted for that option in some of the pricing, and but then it does have a little bit of a lead time. So for example, they'll say 3 to 4 weeks because of the COVID situation and everything else. So that lead time, taking it into consideration, that will mean practically maybe we're looking at about 4 weeks before or 5 weeks even before I can assemble or acquire all the parts that are necessary for my sort of for me to start with the practical work. And then but in a sense of the tuition, I wanted to ask maybe because I'm handling a bit of things. Is it possible that I can do maybe over 2 months, like a two payment terms? Can I do something like that? Maybe over 2 months or something like that. Is it possible? Is it fine that way?
So you'd
So
say
that because I don't know. I'm just
I think so. Like So you'd pay 5K now and 5K
Ye-
in 2 months.
Yes. Yes, yes, because I'll be also looking at the parts and getting the parts and all those things in any way. So I think I don't know if that suffices, but it was just some.
Okay. Yeah. So the
Yes, my friend. Yes,
payment terms would be then to do 5,000 US dollars
yes,
initially through a
yes,
wire and then follow it up in like 2 months with another wire.
yes.
Okay.
That's right. Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Are you?
yes,
Yeah, I think that would work. Are you?
yes.
So from your job, are you? Do they pay you well? Like, can I ask how much you make from that, or?
It's relatively because you know what happens is that unfortunately if you're a small guy there's a lot of sort of the payment is not as great as what you'd make, you know, if you're a big somebody. Yes, because there's a bit of I gave you an opportunity, therefore you have to sort of you work at negotiated rates. So for
Mhm.
example, when I used to work as an engineer for a company, I would
Mhm.
make more money than if I'm working now as a consultant myself. The rates will vary. I mean, currently I'll even settle for about
Yeah.
600 rand an hour a rate, where previously I used to make even more. So it's sort of not really much that I do make, but then it's at least a little bit, yeah, something that you can keep you going
Mhm.
for some time. Yes,
So you're
yes.
getting like 600 rand right now per hour.
Yes, yes, yes. That's where because they negotiate obviously with you and all those kind of things, and then it becomes a little bit more under than if you're normal if you're working for somebody else as an engineer.
Mhm. That's
Yes,
still not too bad. Um,
yes,
not too bad.
yes.
And then are you married and do you have kids or anything like that, or
Yeah, soon getting married. So because I'm trying to get into this thing with my partner. Yes,
with your wife partner?
yes, yes, yes. My yeah, my future wife, my wife. Yes,
Oh, okay. So she's
yes.
also into metallurgy or
Yes. Same field as well.
same field. Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Well, hopefully I could
Yes.
make more cool friends. So she does she have the vision too of the big picture or?
Yeah, I'm trying to get her into her. Yeah, she's slowly warming up into the idea because I think it first has to make sense to her, but I'm always trying to break it down to her, but she's getting there.
I
Yes.
see, I see. Does she also work as a consultant or what does she do?
Yes, my son.
Is she There you are. Oh, I was asking, what does your partner do for a living? Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I was
There you go.
muted.
Okay,
Can you
yeah,
hear me, Marcin?
yeah, I can.
Yes,
What
yes.
does your
I'm
partner?
saying she does the same thing as me. Yes,
Oh, she's working with your company.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
We're
And what?
working together. Yes, so I was still explaining that I'm still trying to get into the OSE model to understand everything
Okay,
how
okay.
it works. Obviously, yes,
Is she also an engineer?
yes, that's right. Yes,
Which
that's right.
mechanical or electrical?
Chemical
Chemical.
process like myself. Yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Well, more like they overlap because metallurgy and chemical does overlap. Yes,
Nice, nice.
yes, yes.
Okay, that's really cool. Um,
Mm.
and do you guys have kids yet, or no
No,
kids?
not yet. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
yeah, that's
yes,
interesting. Yeah, that's good.
yes.
And how about your other guys? Do the other guys see your other engineer guys? They see the vision more, or?
Yes, like I'm saying, I think there's two guys. I always, I mean, share the stuff with them after we speak or whatever, whenever I'm doing, just to keep them up to date. So they've shown interest. I would say about two guys that I work with have shown
Okay,
interest.
that's good.
Yes,
That's good.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes,
How about a little more? A little more.
yes.
So the word. Have you heard me talk about movement entrepreneurship ever?
Not really. Maybe I might have missed it or forgotten a little bit.
Okay.
Kindly refresh my mind. Yes, Masha.
Yeah. Well, I mean, see, because just to kind of set the ground here, like we're here to change the world,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes,
And the
yes,
intent for for the OSC chapters and the mentorship
yes,
is
yes.
to cultivate that mindset that we are responsible for making great change. And I call
Sure,
that
yes,
movement entrepreneurship. That we are entrepreneurs,
yes,
we're entrepreneurial,
yes,
but we
yes.
change things. We make things happen in the world.
Mm,
And I was
mm,
wondering if you
mm.
thought, what's your thoughts on that? Do you consider yourself a person like that?
Yes, yes. Of course, because we talking entrepreneurship at a different level. But obviously, in a context that you've put it now, yes, I do see myself as that kind of an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I really understood it 100%, but yeah, but I think really it's to change the world while also trying to sustain your life and making means for your life as well. If I understood it correctly.
Yeah. I mean, do you have any? Does that scare
Hmm.
you? Is that a big responsibility, or do you like it?
No, no, you mean let me just understand it properly, Martian. You mean what the what scares me? The
Well,
which
I
part?
mean, the
The
idea of taking on a big goal. Is that?
no,
Are you comfortable with that, or
yeah,
is that intimidating, or is that like, can I do?
yeah.
Do you have reservations for regarding that, or?
Personally, I don't have a problem because I look at the. I mean, I've always taken goals that I think were a little bit above my reach, but then I always look to try and obviously break new ground and look for whatever goals that I can. So I think it's attainable. I'm not really a person who gets challenged or get sort of afraid because of certain things that I have to do. So I like to set goals and then try and achieve those goals, and I think it's achievable.
So
Yeah.
what would
So
you say is like, if you look at the
mhm.
world, like what do you think is a big issue that, like a big pressing world issue, in your view?
In my view, I would say a lot of well, unfortunately, it has to be political because there's a lot of and economical at the same time. Because I mean, I think there's a lot of shift in terms of economy where if you are enjoying really the privileges at the cost of many people, really sort of being forgotten, because as simply of what the system is now. So at least my view would be the other way around of that, the opposite of that, where is majority really enjoying what a few are really enjoying at the moment. But then, yeah, so it's just a perspective,
So do
my
you think?
perspective.
So do you
Yes.
think your involvement in this, our relationship, can help you work on that?
Yes, that's what I obviously want to do. Yeah, so because I've started, I think also just a little bit before to try and sort of change a bit of lives and impact people that I can impact that I come across. But then, yeah, so it really well aligns, I think, with the OSE goal to try and, I guess, sort of give people the civilization and even oneself, because I think really also to forget about oneself as well will be a problem as well, because I think one also needs to also be stable enough to can sustain for now and the future. And yeah, so but looking at a bigger goal, yes, definitely.
Do you think you have the mindset to be able to do it?
Yep, to achieve, yep, I can.
What about the skills? Do you think you have the? No, I'm just kind of like looking
Mm.
at how you
No,
perceive yourself.
it's fine, it's
Like, do you
fine. I
think,
can.
like,
Yeah.
if you were to succeed at it, do you think you have the skills right now, or do you need to build some skills, or?
Uh, well, I don't know. In terms of soft skills, I think I do have, because by nature I'm a driven person. I don't really sort of like to wait for affirmation or anything like that. I normally just get up and do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And whether I pass or I fail, that I think remains a question. But then I always get up and do it. So I believe I can. In terms of, obviously, skills are something that you get along the way. So I mean, it's something that you pick up as you go. Obviously, learning new skills shouldn't really be much of a challenge, because I mean, one has really been over the years trying to pick up different skills, and it's also my interest to try and get as many skills as possible.
What do you think is the skill that would be most important for you to succeed, like that you may not have? Have you
I
ever
think
thought about it?
practical skills, Marcin, because I think a lot of what a person got involved in was more theoretical stuff, where you deal with the sciences from behind the textbook and the desk, but then really getting to do the job, or the work, the practical stuff, it's those skills that one needs. So more artisanal kind of skills, and obviously. Yeah, so obviously those kind of skills, to be
Yeah.
able to build. Yeah, I think those are really the most, because I mean, putting the puzzle together, then one will be complete in terms of self-sustainability. Because the issue, I think, that with a person as a graduate is that you normally just have one skill, and it limits you really
Yeah,
in
yeah.
many other things. Yes.
Or, or it's theoretical when you don't know what to do with it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And in
So,
fact, the
so
irony is that, sorry, just in the industry, how it's also structured. Funny enough, you find the artisanal guys are even making more money because of they've got real skills, core skills, than the engineers themselves.
oh
And
yeah, so
those are
people,
critical skills.
so oh yeah, so like for example, welders would make more money than you would, or?
Yes. I mean, logically, one would say okay, but I can argue it, because you'd say no, this and that, because you're a graduate and that. But in reality, it sort of makes sense, because those are the guys who do the actual sort of work. So that's why I think those skills are really sort of a must for every person who's at least got an ambition to do things and really understand them and lead them.
Hmm. So I mean that explains clearly why you're attracted to what we think we can offer, is because you want those practical skills.
Yes. Yeah, and seeing it happening. I mean, I think the real thing is the nice thing as well with OS is that it's practical things that one can see. Because it's really, yeah, one of those things that you also tell yourself that you'd want rather maybe sort of shift your mindset to rather sort of be with the people that you think are sort of at where you want to sort of see yourself in the future.
So
Like exactly. Yes.
yeah, you haven't used the word Ubuntu, right? But Ubuntu comes from,
Ubuntu. Yes.
what does it mean to you?
Yes. As in, is it an African saying? It's a South African Zulu saying for, it's like principle, humanity, like
Is that
motto. Yes.
so?
Yes.
Because you know that's the operating system for Linux, right? Ubuntu, right?
For Linux, yes, I know a lot of the software guys use that for their to build as their building block for their
And
software.
So
Yes.
interestingly, you come from the land of
Yes.
Ubuntu, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yes. Yes.
Which I would
Yes.
say, I mean, does that relate? Because I see like you're talking about here's my community
Yes.
and how I can help. So that seems
Yes.
like that's what Ubuntu means, right? Like the care for the community,
Correct. Yes, yes. It's the humanity, yes.
humanity.
So it's an African thing, whereby, yeah, sharing is caring, more like, yes,
That's good. That's good. Um,
yes,
no, that's great. If we could, I mean,
yes,
that's what we're doing. We're sharing is caring on the economic level. Like we are sharing the economy because
yes,
sharing, people talk
yes,
about sharing, but sharing really means open source
yep,
machines and open source
yes,
economics. I mean, that's real sharing. You know.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, there's quite, in the hardware side, I think that's a bit rare. I think at the moment it's really OSC that does that, on the hardware side. I know a lot of software guys do a lot of that, or at least they've pushed it to a limit, the open source idea. But yeah, on hardware, I think OSC is the only guys that are really doing it at the moment.
Yeah. In many ways. Yeah. And
Yes,
some ways, I
yes,
mean, some people are doing it, but I think we're looking at the bigger picture of how this
yep,
relates to changing
yep,
the economy. Yep.
yes,
Yep. Yep.
yes.
Yep.
And then just one question. Obviously, I know it's still maybe a bit of a longer journey and as well. But in terms of maybe opportunities, they do arise. Let's say we get into machinery, and then there's obviously an opportunity for commercializing the stuff, like tractors and all those kind of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Just a silly question out there. And how does now that sort of uh, get structured?
Well,
Because I'm sure those opportunities are there as well. Because I mean, some people obviously will still want to remain not necessarily in a position whereby they want to build things, but then they prefer a position whereby they have tools that can help them, but
of
they
course,
are
of
also even
course.
willing,
Well,
yes, to pay for that.
yeah. We want to keep things open. So, I mean, there is no
Mm,
contradiction between
mm,
making money and being
mm,
open source. You can
of
do that.
course,
You can do that,
yes,
but
yes, yes.
we want you not to do that. I mean, you can, but because
No,
we
sure,
can't.
yes, no, sure,
But
yes.
we want to
Yes.
to help everybody. So
No, no, definitely. I'm just saying in an instance whereby one involve OSE and then obviously the market just booms for certain things, and then obviously I say maybe here's an opportunity that we haven't looked at previously.
yeah, you should do it. You should do it. Like
Yes, yes,
if we'd be very happy if you share the blueprints, and not only share
yes,
the blueprints
yes,
for the
yes,
technology, but for the enterprise.
yes.
Meaning
Exactly. Yes,
that okay,
yes.
here's the blueprint for how I run a
Mm,
tractor production
mm,
business.
mm,
Educate people
mm.
doing that. There's more money
Exactly.
in
Yes.
education. There's money in education. So uh,
I think so. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm
Mm.
addressing your question, but the idea is that
No, you
there
do,
should be
machine. Yes,
we need to make
yes,
billions and trillions. This is the next $1 trillion
yes.
economy. So
Exactly. Yes.
that money
Yes.
should be made with better product, lower cost product, just superior
Yes.
and open.
Yes.
So there is no
Yes.
contradiction. We
Yep.
create the new culture where
Yes.
now
Yes.
we're going to force
Mm.
John Deere and other companies
To run
to
away.
collaborate. Well,
Yes.
collaborate or
Yes.
perish. You know.
Yes. 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 No, it's true because it's very radical. Yes, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that about OSC. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So our goal is, yeah, if we ended up making a big business, say selling tractors, as long as you keep
Mm.
it open, that's
Mm.
perfect. That's the case
Of
that
course.
says open source
Yes.
has won, because so
Yes.
far
Yes.
that doesn't exist for anything
Mm.
hardly.
No, it
You know.
doesn't. That's what I said. Yes,
Yeah.
I know it.
So
It
we need
just
to make
doesn't
that
make.
happen, and that's how we change the world. But doing
Yes.
that, we
Yes.
change the
Yes.
culture, not to the
The
fact that we're
mindset.
going to take
Mm,
patents, to the fact
mm,
that patents are going to
mm,
open up, and
mm,
collaborative
mm,
development
mm.
is going to
Yes.
replace patents, because then we can
Yeah.
solve bigger problems.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So anybody who talks about patents, they've got a small mind. It's like they're not collaborators. You know,
Nah, yes. I
they
mean,
don't
if you
see
look at it in the,
the idea of abundance, the idea that there's
yes,
the
yes,
post scarcity mindset, that there's enough for
yeah,
everybody.
exactly.
Yeah,
For everyone, yes,
yeah,
exactly what I, yes, I find the problem with the world.
yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
it would be great, like for example, like you say, oh wow, I learned how to make this awesome tractor. It would make me
mm,
most happy if you generate a lot of wealth from that while giving us
mm.
that design so we can produce it in America
But that's what I
and
was
across the
saying.
world.
Yes, yes,
So you
yes,
just
yes,
become more successful, not less.
yes,
You get more impact. You solve bigger problems. We'll make those
yes,
tractors better. We'll make them run on solar hydrogen. Then we can talk about,
yes,
well, what's the next thing that needs to happen on a tractor? Well, maybe it's
yes,
going to be built with open source smelted ferrochrome.
yes,
You know,
yes,
so
yes.
there's always things to do.
The next level. Yes,
That's why we want to keep
yes,
things open so we can unleash
yes,
innovation. So that's our.
yes,
Does
yes,
that
yes.
address your question?
No, more than enough.
Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah,
Marcin. Yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes,
No, I
yes,
mean people always
yes.
ask about this, like how do you make money with it? Well, you just make products, provide good things, provide
Yes,
service. That's how you
exactly.
make
Yes,
revenue. So
yes,
the whether proprietary or not has nothing to do with it. I believe that the open
mm,
business model is
mm,
better
mm,
in
mm,
providing more
mm.
value.
Yes.
And that's the kind of culture
No one.
that for me, like I want to transfer that to you so you can
Yes,
transfer that to all of Africa. That's the idea,
yes,
you know.
yes, yes.
We
No,
work
I
on it.
follow
We
hundred
work on that
percent. Yes,
together. So our
yes.
visions are much bigger than just worrying about
Sitting on a
proprietary.
yes,
Yeah, like little
yes.
things, man. Like we've got real world problems to solve. So yeah,
I like it. Yeah, yes.
yeah,
Because I know they say one thing about Americans and the people there is that you think big when you think of a problem, even if it's a small problem. You think big when you think about it.
well,
Ye-
there's not a lot of it. Not a lot of it around here.
ye-
Like this,
ah,
but I'm telling
okay.
you, like there's.
Yes,
I'm
this is not
radical. I'm
anyway.
radical for a
Yes,
lot of people here,
yes,
but I'm also
yes.
not American. I was born in Poland, so
Yes, I
I'm
followed
one of
that.
the immigrants
Yes.
that still has ambition.
Oh, wow. But yeah, no, it's a good contribution. Wow.
Well,
Wow.
a lot of the
Yeah.
Americans get kind of lazy, and then you get people like
Yeah.
Trump, you know.
Yes. Yes. Shame. But yeah, the elections are around the corner now in the States, I know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah,
Yes.
we're gonna fix all of that. We're
Yep.
gonna solve all of
Yep.
that. That's nonsense.
Yes.
I mean, the facts like people. There's people. Did you know that, for example, in America, like most people on Indian reservations don't even have running water?
Sure.
Yeah,
Well, we don't get that because we always follow CNN. It always tells a good story.
yeah, yeah.
There's
I mean,
nothing else.
it's like
Yes.
we've
Yes.
got real issues to solve, creating prosperity for
Sure.
everyone, and that's the central
Yes.
mission.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm.
So
Now it
if you and
makes
I see
sense.
eye to eye on that, we can work together.
Yes. Not true. Yes. I'm happy. Yes. I think because the Africa has also got its own challenges,
Yeah,
whereby we also need tools to work our own lands, like I explained previously. And obviously those things will be enablers.
yeah,
And yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, yes. No, I'm happy. I think we spoke, I think, about with the terms, and then we can split it maybe twice over in terms of the payment, and
Okay,
then I'll just carry on with the sourcing. So I don't know if you're gonna have a look at the final breakdown at
okay.
when you get a chance,
So
or but yes,
I do want to take a look at it. So make sure there's any updates that are needed. Because I looked at it basically just to scan the prices. Now I'll take a look at it
yes,
again.
yes.
So do you want me to look at it right now, or are you ready to order, or
Uh,
do you want to still look
I
at more
think
things?
kindly let me just have it go through it with a fine tooth comb for the very last time.
Very last time, and then I'll take a
Not
look at
really
it.
even, yes, more like a specification confirmation because the prices, I think I've really worked hard on the prices.
Okay.
I think it's realistic where it is, but then I just want to make sure that all the specifications and all those are actually conforming to what was initially what is actually the actual specification. And then once I've checked the specification, then I'll just give it to you. So more like just a final quality check of
Yep.
the
And
work.
then I'll
Yeah.
feedback on that, and then after that, you can
Yes.
just order all of them, and as soon as you get them, we can start building
Yep.
it. That would be great.
Yes. Yes.
That would be great.
Yes. And then what I'll do is that I'll kindly send you the just a link when I'm done. I think it
Yeah.
should be a day or two.
Now the only
Yes.
question is, how are you gonna get? Do you have access to any 3D printers? Because you need the 3D printed parts. Which, where are we gonna
Ye-
get those?
In terms of the sourcing of the material, or
Yeah, because
okay,
the basic
yes,
model requires there's certain 3D printed parts, like the corners of the frame.
yes, but
So
there's a couple of people that I think I've seen that even some of the people that I'm trying to source from, I think they're already running their 3D printer businesses and stuff like that. So, but I wasn't sure if really, because I'm following the, I haven't really even familiarized myself with all the parts because I was just solely focusing on getting the price, and then that's why I'm saying I'll just revisit and see what the specification and the parts are and all those kind of things.
yeah,
But then
because
I think it should be sourceable.
yeah, the worst case, like I could possibly end up shipping them to you, but you'd have to cover those
Mm,
costs. Um,
okay. What are those specifically? Sorry, Marcin, that I'd have to get. Are they also on the spreadsheet on the
so there's
breakdown?
a yeah, there's a let's see.
Okay, because I'll have a look maybe more thoroughly in terms of the technical on the BOQ. I haven't, or the BOM.
There's a tab there. Let me see. Hold on.
Okay, let me just.
Printed parts. Yeah. Okay. So you can click on the SDLs there. That's basically what you need. And um,
Uh, let me just
second
go
tab,
to
printed
the.
parts.
Hmm,
But basically, those SDLs is what we need to get. So I mean, I know that this kind of stuff, like if you get it outsourced, I mean, for one to print it themselves, it costs only a spool of filament, which is
yeah,
$20. But if you get it outsourced, it'll be hundreds. It'll be like crazy. So we have to figure that
yeah,
out. Maybe let's see
yes,
if
yeah.
you what you need to do is get the quote from somebody, and then I'll quote you. I'll be one of your suppliers for shipping. Like I could just print the parts for you,
Oh,
and then
yes, yes.
I can just
Okay.
charge you for essentially the shipping plus a
Oh,
spool of
yes,
filament.
because
But I have to find out how
yes.
much that would be to ship. I mean, it's only like 1 kilo of parts, so maybe it's
Mm,
acceptable.
mm,
It might be acceptable that I can possibly
yes,
ship it to you. So, but we need those parts.
yes. No, no, I hear you. Yes, Martian. Let me just try and see because I've got the. I'll just go through the technical details, and then I'll just raise any flag if there's any. But then, yeah, whatever that I've listed, it seems like it's sourceable locally. But unless if it was not there initially, but
Do
it
you
looks
see
like
the?
all the stuff that's are listed here are sourceable.
Yeah. So let's see the complete set of 3D printed parts. So let me just put a link there. So
Okay.
um, there's the yeah. I just put a
Mm,
link to the 3D printed parts, which is the second tab in the document. But I mean, try to get a quote from someone. But the
yes,
idea is like once
yes.
you have this 3D printer, you'll be past this problem. But for the first printer, it's a problem because you can't print those parts yet. Are you? Can you still hear me? Okay. Take a look at the.
Hello, Martian. Yes. So I actually looked at the second tab. It says printed parts, the
Yep.
gearless parts, and then there's the just printed parts.
Yeah, it's the gearless ones.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Let's see the geared
Yes.
printed parts. We don't even need that. I'll
Mm,
just delete that. Okay. Yeah, you need the printed parts gearless.
okay. Okay.
So see if
Yes,
you
I'm
can find
looking at
out.
the list right now. Okay.
If you have
So
a, I mean, is there a print shop, 3D print shop in your town?
okay.
Okay, yeah, good. So take a look at that and see if there's anyone
Yes, Marcin.
in
No,
your.
I've followed. What I'll do is then I'll see. Yes, I'll see.
Okay, sounds like a bad connection, but yeah, I think you've got most of what you need,
Yes,
right?
I think.
So let's
Yes,
maybe,
Marcin. I think so
so let's
because I'm
finish here.
thinking I'm having bad connection on my side. I don't know. Okay, then it's fine. I think we've
Okay,
really on my side. It's everything that I needed to know for going forward.
okay,
Yes. So then I'll have the look at the printed parts and then see what I come up with in terms of sourcing them. But where I don't come, well, when I if I can come up with some of the parts, I'll just let you know to see to compare, like you said on your side, if you cannot print and ship them this side,
okay, okay. That sounds good. Sounds good. So I think we're
because they are
really,
not really big parts. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So I think we're pretty good. Go team, go! Welcome to the team.
Yep. No. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Awesome. Thanks a lot, Marcin, for welcoming me. Thanks.
Okay, bye bye.
All right. Cheers then.
Cheers.
Bye. Bye.